The hotel door creaked open just as I peeled off my sweat-soaked blouse, the cool Andalusian air hitting my bare skin like a slap. There she stood, frozen in the threshold. A maid with wide, haunted eyes clutching a stack of fresh linens, her uniform rumpled as if she'd run from something far worse than a housekeeping cart. In that split second our gazes locked, and the world didn't shatter with embarrassment. It ignited with a spark of raw, unspoken desperation that neither of us could ignore. I was Samantha Hayes, 34, a burned-out architect from Seattle who'd fled across the Atlantic to escape the wreckage of my latest divorce. My second, if you can believe it. Spain had seemed like the perfect antidote. Sun-baked hills, endless glasses of Rioja, and the kind of solitude that promised reinvention. I'd booked a month at the Parador de Granada, a converted Moorish palace perched on a cliffside overlooking the Sierra Nevada, where the air smelled of jasmine and regret. Little did I know, my unraveling would begin not with a sketchpad or a sunset, but with a door that shouldn't have opened. Her name was Maya Ruiz, 32, with skin like burnished copper and eyes that held the depth of ancient olive trees. Dark, resilient, and shadowed by storms long past. She was the invisible force behind the Parador's polished facade. The one who fluffed pillows at dawn, polished silver until it gleamed, and whispered prayers to saints she'd long stopped believing in. Born in a dusty village an hour south, Maya had come to Granada chasing dreams of art school, only to find herself trapped in the grind of service, sending every euro home to a mother whose debts grew like weeds. That afternoon, as she pushed her cart down the marbled corridor, her hands trembled not from fatigue, but from the fresh bruise hidden beneath her sleeve, a mark from Javier, the fiancé her family had chosen like a plot of land to till. When our eyes met, time bent. I clutched my blouse to my chest, heat flooding my face, but Maya's expression wasn't shock or apology. It was a plea, raw and unguarded, as if I'd caught her mid-fall. Lo siento, she murmured, her voice a husky melody laced with Granada's rolling RS, but she didn't back away. Instead she stepped inside, closing the door softly behind her, the linens tumbling to the floor like surrendered flags. I thought the room was empty. But you're hurt too, aren't you? Her words hung in the air, absurd and piercing. Hurt? How could she see that in a stranger's half-naked vulnerability? I lowered the blouse slightly, my heart pounding not from exposure, but from the way she looked at me. Not with pity but recognition, like we'd shared the same invisible wound. What makes you say that? I asked, my American twang cutting through the room's antique hush. Maya knelt to gather the sheets, her movements deliberate, avoiding my gaze now as if afraid of what it might reveal. The way you carry yourself. Like you're holding up a wall that's already cracked. I've seen it in the mirror every morning. She rose, stacking the linens on the dresser with hands that bore the faint scars of kitchen knives and unyielding labor. Up close, she was even more striking. Full lips curved in perpetual half-smile. A smattering of freckles across her nose from too many hours under the relentless Spanish sun. But there was a fragility there. A flicker of fear that made my chest ache. I should have laughed it off, sent her on her way with a tip and a no harm done. But something in her voice, the quiet authority of someone who'd learned to survive by reading souls, rooted me. Samantha, I said, extending a hand as I slipped the blouse back on. And you? Maya. Her grip was firm, callous palms against my soft ones, a contrast that sent an unexpected shiver through me. In Seattle, connections were transactions. Coffee dates that fizzled, boardroom nods that meant nothing. Here, in this room scented with orange blossoms wafting from the balcony, her touch felt like a question I hadn't known I was asking. We talked, or rather she did at first. Broken English mingled with gestures toward the window, where the Alhambra's red towers pierced the hazy sky like forgotten promises. She'd studied painting once, she confessed, dreaming of canvases splashed with the colors of her homeland. The electric blue of the Mediterranean, the fiery ochre of Granada's earth. But life had other plans. Javier's family owned the vineyard that employed half her village, and marriage was the currency that kept the vines thriving. It's not love, she said flatly, folding a towel with precision. It's survival. But sometimes I wonder if surviving is just another way of dying slowly. Her candor disarmed me. I found myself spilling fragments of my own shattered mosaic. The husband who'd traded our life for a younger model. The blueprints I'd drawn for homes I'd never live in. The gnawing emptiness that had driven me to this cliffside perch. I came here to fix myself, I admitted, sinking onto the bed's embroidered edge. But all I've done is stare at walls. Maya paused, her dark eyes softening. Then don't stare. Look out. She crossed to the balcony doors, flinging them wide. The Sierra Nevada unfolded before us, a jagged symphony of peaks dusted with late summer snow, valleys carpeted in silver-green olives. The wind carried the distant chime of church bells, and for a moment we stood there side by side, breathing in the vastness. It was the first time in years I'd felt truly seen, not as a failure or a facade, but as a woman unpeeling her layers. That encounter should have been a footnote, a quirky hotel tale to recount over tapas. But Maya lingered, offering to show me the hidden Granada, the alleyways where flamenco gypsies once danced under lantern light, the secret caves etched with prehistoric hands. Tourists see the postcard, she said with a wry smile. I know the scars beneath. I accepted, telling myself it was curiosity, not the pull of her presence, that drew me. Our first outing was under the guise of a staff discount tour. She met me in the lobby at twilight, her uniform swapped for a simple sundress the color of ripening figs, her hair loose and wild. We wandered the Albayacin Quarter, its narrow cobblestone streets twisting like veins through whitewashed walls splashed with bougainvillea. Maya pointed out faded tiles bearing Arabic script. Water is life. One read, and shared stories of the Moors who'd built this city on layers of conquest and coexistence. Spain is like that, she said as we paused at a mirador overlooking the Darro River. Beautiful because it's broken, layer upon layer. I watched her profile against the sunset, the way the light gilded her cheekbones, and felt a warmth uncoil in my chest. Familiar yet forbidden, a echo from college crushes I'd buried under the weight of normalcy. I dated men, married them, convinced myself it was enough. But here, with Maya tracing patterns in the air as she described lost gardens, the truth stirred. I wasn't broken for wanting this, for wanting her. We ended at a tiny taberna. Its walls hung with bullfight posters yellowed by time. Over plates of gazpacho chilled with almonds and jamon sliced paper thin. Conversation flowed like the river below. She laughed at my mangled attempts at Spanish, teaching me phrases with exaggerated flair. Te miro y veo el mar. I look at you and see the sea. Her eyes danced, but shadows crept in when I asked about Javier. He's persistent, she said, tracing the rim of her glass. Tomorrow he comes to the hotel. Family dinner. Tradition. The word hung heavy. Tradition. The chains that bound us both, mine to expectations of success and stability, hers to blood and bread. As we parted under the Parador's arched entrance, her hand brushed mine, lingering just long enough to ignite that spark again. Good night, Samantha. Dream of oceans, not walls. That night sleep evaded me. The room, once a sanctuary, now hummed with her absence. I paced the balcony, the stars a scatter of diamonds above the Sierra, and wondered what madness had possessed me. She was engaged, I was leaving in weeks. This was a flirtation with fire, the kind that left scars. But the next morning, as I sketched the courtyard's fountain nymphs frozen in eternal dance, Maya appeared with a tray of café con leche and churros dusted in sugar. For the artist, she teased, setting it down. Her smile faltered when raised voices echoed from the lobby. Javier, broad-shouldered and vine-tanned, arguing with the concierge about a reservation. Maya's face paled, the tray rattling in her hands. Go, I whispered, pulling her into the alcove shadowed by potted lemons. We pressed against the cool stone, her breath warm on my neck, bodies close enough to feel the rapid flutter of hearts. His voice boomed, possessive, laced with that false charm men wield like weapons, demanding to know why she hadn't answered his calls. She's mine to protect, he declared to no one in particular, as if ownership erased consent. When he stormed past, oblivious to our hiding spot, Maya sagged against me, tears silent on her lashes. He doesn't hit often, she whispered, as if that excused the terror in her eyes. But when he does, it's because he loves too much. The lie tasted bitter, even to her. I cupped her face, thumbs brushing away the salt. Love doesn't bruise, Maya. It builds. Our foreheads touched, breaths mingling, and in that charged hush I felt the dam break. Not with a kiss but with a promise. You're more than tradition. You're the sea. From that shadowed alcove, Our worlds intertwined like the Albaesan's labyrinthine streets. Afternoons stolen between shifts, her leading me through the Sacramento caves, where cave dwellers once painted their lives on gypsum walls, their hands echoing hers strong seeking. We'd sit on rough-hewn benches, sharing dreams over smuggled bottles of vermouth. I confessed my fear of emptiness, how architecture was my armor against chaos. She revealed her sketchbook, pages filled with bold strokes of color. Women with windswept hair dancing on cliffs, lovers entwined under starlit skies. "You're in them," I said one evening, as we perched on a hillside overlooking the Vega, the fertile plain glowing emerald under irrigation channels carved by ancient engineers. A charcoal figure emerged. Auburn-haired, eyes fierce as a storm-tossed Pacific. My throat tightened. "Maya." She closed the book gently. "Art is truth, Samantha. And truth is dangerous." Her fingers traced my jaw, tentative, electric. We didn't kiss, not yet. It was enough to sit in that suspended grace, hands laced, watching fireflies wink like conspirators in the dusk. But shadows lengthened. Javier's visits grew frequent, his jealousy a storm cloud over the parador. Whispers among staff. He'd cornered Maya in the laundry, demanding explanations for her distant smiles. Her mother called from the village, pleading. The vineyard's harvest was lean. The wedding would secure loans, futures. "Family is everything," Maya echoed one night over the phone, her voice cracking as I listened from the balcony shadows. "Without it, what am I?" "You're you," I countered, slipping inside to wrap her in my arms. She stiffened at first, then melted, her head on my shoulder as sobs shook her frame. We stayed like that until dawn, the first light painting the room in pinks and golds, our connection deepening into something profound, unspoken, a love that bloomed in whispers and glances, tender as the jasmine vines climbing the walls. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen joys and mounting dread. I extended my stay, citing inspiration. But really it was her, the way she hummed folk tunes while folding linens, the fierce protectiveness in her laugh. We explored Granada's underbelly, the hammam baths where steam veiled our blushes as we soaked in separate pools, eyes meeting across the mosaic tiles, the weekly feria, where she taught me to sway to flamenco's raw pulse, her hand on my waist guiding me through steps that felt like confession. Yet cracks spiderwebbed. My ex-husband emailed. Reconciliation offers, veiled threats about shared assets. "Come home, Sam. This Spanish fling won't fix you." Fling. The word stung, reducing Maya to a footnote. And Javier. He sensed the shift, his rages simmering into surveillance. One afternoon as Maya and I picnicked in the General Life Gardens, terraced fountains singing their eternal duet, he appeared like a specter, face twisted in accusation. "Who is she?" he snarled, yanking Maya's arm, the welt blooming instantly under her sleeve. Tourists gasped, but in Spain such scenes were private tempests, not public interventions. I surged forward, heart thundering. "Let her go. Now." His laugh was bitter, eyes raking me with disdain. The American savior. How quaint. He released her with a shove, but not before hissing in her ear. "Choose, Maya. Us or this fantasy. Your mother starves otherwise." She crumpled as he stalked away, the garden's serenity mocking our turmoil. I held her amid the myrtle hedges, rocking gently as she wept. "I can't leave them," she choked. "But I can't stay." That night, under a canopy of stars from the Parador's rooftop, we finally bridged the gap. No grand gestures, just her hand in mine, pulling me close until lips met in a kiss soft as sea foam, tasting of salt and surrender. It was revelation. The world sharpening into focus, colors vivid, breaths synced. We parted breathless, foreheads touching. "I love you," I whispered, the words a vow carved in the Sierra's stone. "And I you," she replied, her voice a bomb. But love alone doesn't feed a village. The betrayal came swift as a sirocco wind. I'd planned our escape. Tickets to Barcelona, then a flight to Seattle, or perhaps Lisbon, anywhere but here. My sketches had sold to a gallery back home. Funds were there, a lifeline. But doubt not, was I stealing her from her roots, imposing my chaos on her order? Javier struck first. The morning I showed her the tickets, a knock echoed. Not his thunder, but her mother's frail form, eyes hollowed by worry, clutching a worn shawl. "Hija," she pleaded, voice trembling. "He's told me everything. The American, she poisons you with lies. Come home. The wedding is set for harvest moon. For us. Maya froze, the tickets fluttering to the floor like fallen leaves. I reached for her, but she recoiled, eyes wild with fracture. You knew, she accused, voice rising. About the money? The gallery. I wanted to surprise you, I stammered, desperation clawing. A way out. Together. Together. Laughter escaped her, sharp and hollow. You think you can buy my freedom? Like Javier buys mine? I'm not a blueprint to redraw, Samantha. This is my blood, my soil. The words eviscerated. In her pain, she saw me as colonizer, not lover. An outsider sketching escapes without grasping the anchors. She stormed out, leaving me amid scattered dreams, the room echoing with accusations unspoken. Days blurred into agony. She avoided my room, her shifts a ghost in the corridors. I wandered Granada alone, the Alhambra's palaces mocking my solitude. Arches whispering of loves lost to history's churn. Javier gloated in passing glances, his victory a noose tightening. The climax shattered on All Saints' Eve, when the city pulsed with lantern-lit processions, skeletal floats parading mortality through the streets. I found her in the Sacramento, cave aglow with candlelight, her sketchbook open to a half-finished portrait. Us entwined on that hillside, fireflies our halo. Why? I demanded, voice breaking as rain began to sheet the gypsy quarter. She turned, face streaked with tears and charcoal. Because I chose. Not him, not fully. But not you either. Mother. The village. They need me whole, not halved by oceans. Betrayal twisted, not just hers but mine. In my zeal to save her, I'd ignored her strength, her agency. I thought love conquered. I whispered, rain mingling with sobs. It does, she said, stepping close, her hand on my rain-slicked cheek. But it also releases. Our kiss was fierce, a tempest of goodbye, lips bruised, hearts flayed yet laced with grace. No pleas, no chains. Just the raw humanity of letting go. She married Javier at harvest moon. A union of necessity under olive boughs heavy with fruit. I watched from afar, hidden in the vineyard's rose, the ceremony a blur of white lace and forced smiles. Maya's eyes found mine across the crowd, a silent benediction. Forgiveness, not farewell. I left Granada the next dawn, the Parador fading in my rearview. Sierra Nevada a sentinel to my rebirth. Back in Seattle, blueprints evolved, designs for community centers and immigrant enclaves, spaces for stories like Maya's to flourish. I wrote her letters, never sent, pages of love and lessons. How betrayal forged us stronger, how romance's true arc bends toward humanity's quiet triumphs. Years later, a package arrived. Her sketchbook, pages filled with our moments, now exhibited in a Granada gallery. Echoes of the sea. In the final drawing, two women parted on a cliff, backs turned but hands extended backward, fingers almost touching. The note inside. We build bridges even in breaking. Te miro y veo el mar. Always, Maya. And in that humanistic close, not conquest but coexistence, I found my peace. Love's drama isn't in possession, but in the echoes it leaves rippling across oceans, enduring like Spain's ancient stones. The flight from Malaga to Seattle was a haze of recycled air and regret, the Sierra Nevada shrinking to a distant smudge on the horizon like a bruise fading under time's indifferent touch. I clutched Maya's parting sketch in my lap, a rough pencil outline of the Parador's balcony, our silhouettes blurred into one against the stars, as if it could anchor the ache hollowing my chest. At 34 I'd romanticized escape as salvation, but Granada had taught me crueler truths. Some loves are wildfires, consuming to illuminate, leaving ash that fertilizes new growth. Back home, the rain-slicked streets of Capitol Hill welcomed me with their familiar gloom. A far cry from Andalusia's blaze. My apartment, a sleek modernist box overlooking Elliott Bay, felt like a cage, walls I'd designed myself now closing in with sterile precision. Colleagues at the firm clapped me on the back, assuming my sabbatical had reignited my muse. Those Spanish curves in your new portfolio? Genius, Sam. If only they knew the curves they praised were Maya's, the arch of her neck under lantern light, the sway of her hips in the Feria's dust. Work became my exorcism. I threw myself into pro bono projects. Affordable housing for queer youth displaced by gentrification, community gardens echoing Granada's Vega. Each line drawn was a tribute, A way to honor the woman who'd cracked me open. But nights were treacherous. Dreams of her laughter mingling with flamenco strings, waking to the ghost of her scent on my pillow, jasmine and earth. Months stretched into a year. Emails from the Parador arrived sporadically, polite inquiries about my stay, but I knew her hand in the phrasing, the subtle lilt of, "We hope the Sierras whisper your name still." I resisted replying, fearing the pull. Javier's shadow loomed in my imagination. Had he dimmed her fire? Did tradition's yoke chafe as deeply as she'd feared? Then betrayal's second act. A Google alert for Maya Ruiz art. There she was in a digital gallery listing her exhibition, Voces del Viento, Voices of the Wind, opening in Barcelona. Photos showed her transformed. Hair cropped to a fierce bob, eyes alight with defiance, standing beside canvases that bled our story. Abstracted lovers in ochre and azure, hands reaching across fractured landscapes. No mention of Javier. My heart seized. Had she fled? Or was this another layer of her survival, art as subtle rebellion? I booked a flight before reason could intervene, telling myself it was closure, not chasing ghosts. Barcelona thrummed with October's vibrancy. Gaudi's whims curling skyward, the Ramblas alive with buskers and the sea's briny tang. The gallery nestled in the Gothic quarter, a restored medieval hall where stone vaults cradled modern fury. I arrived early, blending into the crowd of expats and locals sipping cava, my pulse a drumbeat against my ribs. She emerged like a vision, Maya 33 now, in a crimson dress that hugged her like a lover's promise, the bob framing her face in sharp angles of resolve. No ring glinted on her finger. Our eyes met across the room, the air thickening with unspoken soliloquies. She excused herself from a cluster of admirers, weaving toward me with the grace of someone who'd danced through infernos. Samantha. My name on her lips was a melody unchanged, husky with emotion. We embraced, tentative at first, then fierce, the crowd fading to irrelevance. She smelled of turpentine and triumph, her frame leaner, tempered by trials. "You came," she murmured into my hair, pulling back to search my face. I hoped, feared. Upstairs, in a private alcove hung with her most intimate works, we unraveled the year apart. The wedding had been a farce, vows exchanged under duress, Javier's grip loosening only when her art gained traction, local patrons buying pieces that shamed his control. "He saw the power in it," she said, gesturing to a canvas of a woman breaking chains woven from vines. "Or feared it. Either way, we parted quietly. Mother understood in time. The village thrives now on ecotourism. My designs for their co-op. Relief flooded me, mingled with guilt. I thought I'd stolen your choice that day in the gardens. Pushed too hard." Her laugh was soft, forgiving. "You gave me mine. That fight, it woke me. Showed me love isn't rescue. It's mirror. You reflected my strength back to me." We talked until the gallery emptied, the city lights twinkling beyond arched windows like approving stars. Barcelona's pulse synced with ours. A late-night stroll along the waterfront, where the Mediterranean lapped at Barceloneta's sands, whispering secrets to the moon. Hands brushed, then clasped. No hesitation now, just the quiet certainty of souls realigned. But drama's not sated by reunion. It demands reckoning. As we shared paella under lantern-strung awnings, saffron rice studded with mussels, her stories of navigating divorce's legal labyrinth in macho Spain. My phone buzzed. My ex, Mark, the second husband who'd shattered me pre-Granada. "Sam, we need to talk. The firm's merging. Your designs are key. But I'm coming to Europe. For you." The message landed like a stone in still water. Maya noticed my pallor. Ghosts. Worse. The past knocking, dressed as future. I confessed the tangle. His emails escalating from contrition to coercion, leveraging our shared history against my rising profile. He's not dangerous, just persistent, like a blueprint that won't erase. Her eyes darkened, echoes of Javier's specter. "Then draw over him. With us." The word bloomed, tentative yet tenacious. We extended the night to her tiny studio apartment in Gracia. Walls papered in sketches, the air thick with possibility. No grand seductions, just her head on my shoulder as we watched the city sleep, fingers tracing lazy patterns on forearms scarred by life's skirmishes. Sleep came in fits, dreams weaving our threads. Sierras meeting sea, hands finally clasping across the divide. Dawn brought conflicts crescendo. Mark arrived unannounced, his flight landing as Barcelona stirred. A polished Seattle import in khakis and loafers, clashing with the bohemian sprawl. He tracked me via the firm's network, cornering us at a cafe near the Sagrada Familia. It spires a testament to unfinished dreams. Sam, this fling, it's charming, but come home. We were good once. Maya stiffened beside me, her coffee cup clattering. Fling. Her accent sharpened, a blade unsheathed. You see a lifetime in a glance? He faltered, eyes flicking between us, the American power couple disrupted by this fierce Spaniard. It's not about you, he said to her, then softer to me. It's us. Stability. The life we built. I stood, chair scraping like a gauntlet thrown. We built a cage, Mark. I fled to Spain to break free, and found more in 1 month with Maya than in years with you. The cafe hushed, patrons sensing drama's electric hum. Go home. Redesign without me. He reached for my arm, but Maya intercepted. Not with violence, but a steady gaze that pinned him. She chooses now. As I did. Leave with dignity, or be remembered as the vine that choked. He left, tail between legs, Barcelona's bustle swallowing him whole. In the aftermath, Maya and I collapsed into laughter. Giddy, cathartic. Then tears, the release of betrayals exorcised. We're free, I whispered, as we wandered the basilica's shadows, its nativity facade a celebration of humble beginnings. Yet romance's romance lies in the human weave. Not flawless arcs but resilient ones. We didn't rush to altars or oceans, instead a slow merge. I commuted between coasts, her art crossing to Seattle galleries, our lives a transatlantic tapestry. Conflicts arose, cultural chasms, like my impatience clashing with her siesta rhythms. Betrayals minor, like a forgotten anniversary amid deadlines. But each forged us deeper. Her teaching me the poetry of pause, me showing her the power of pursuit. One spring we returned to Granada, not as fugitives but pilgrims. The Parador welcomed us as guests, the same room where it began, balcony doors flung wide to the Sierra's embrace. Maya sketched us there, older now, lines etched by laughter and loss, while I designed a tiny home for her village. Solar-powered, vine-shaded, a bridge between old world and new. As twilight fell we stood entwined, her whisper against my ear. Te miro y veo eternidad. I look at you and see eternity. In that humanistic horizon, love not as conquest but companionship. Drama resolved in daily devotions, we found our ever after. Not flawless but full. Layer upon layer like Spain itself. Years folded like the bellows of an accordion. Each squeeze exhaling memories, inhaling maturities we hadn't anticipated. By 40, I'd risen to partner at the firm, my portfolio a mosaic of inclusive designs. Queer-friendly co-ops in Seattle's underbellies, eco-villages in Andalusia's flanks inspired by Maya's ancestral plots. She, at 38, had become a force, her Barcelona studio a hub for women artists from Morocco to Madrid, canvases commanding prices that funded scholarships for village girls chasing pallets over plows. Our life straddled continents, half in rain-kissed evergreens, half in sun-scorched Sierras, a bicoastal ballet of video calls and stolen weekends. Yet drama, that uninvited guest, never fully departs. It evolves, whispering through the cracks of complacency. The conflict resurfaced subtly, in the form of roots pulling taut. Maya's mother, now frail and fogged by time's gentle cruelties, longed for her daughter's shadow in the village home. To stir the gazpacho one last time, she'd say over crackling lines, her voice a fragile thread. Javier, reformed in his solitude, sent olive oil harvests as peace offerings, his letters laced with regret. I was the storm, you the sea that weathered it. I supported her visits, masking the pang of distance. Those weeks in Granada where she'd vanish into family rhythms, emerging quieter, her sketches tinged with sepia nostalgia. It's not betrayal, she'd assure me, curling into my side on return flights. Just balance. Like your blueprints, foundations before facades. But one autumn the Sirocco returned fierce. A gallery in New York offered me a solo exhibit. Bridges unbuilt. Structures blending Moorish arches with Pacific minimalism. It meant months stateside, peak harvest season. Maya's busiest for village commissions. Go. she urged over tapas in our Gracia flat, her fork spearing an olive with unnecessary force. This is your sea. I hesitated, the old fracture aching. And if the bridge crumbles without us shoring it? Her eyes, those deep wells, clouded. We've weathered worse. Trust the architecture. I went, pouring soul into models and mock-ups. The exhibit a triumph, critics lauding the emotional geometry born of cross-cultural heart. But solitude gnawed. Empty hotel beds in Manhattan, echoes of our first door creak encounter. Letters from Maya arrived like lifelines. Vivid dispatches of Sierra sunsets, her mother's improving health, a new mural for the co-op depicting women as olive trees, roots entwined yet reaching skyward. Then the blow. A parcel postmarked Granada, not art but documents. Divorce papers? No, adoption inquiries. Maya's village had a tradition of communal child-rearing, and with her mother's passing imminent, a young cousin's widow sought kinship. Lucia needs a home, her note read. And I need to give one. Will you build it with me? Betrayal's ghost flickered, not accusation but fear. Motherhood. We danced around it in hypotheticals, my history of relational rubble making me wary of legacies. Was this her pulling away, choosing blood over our chosen bond? I flew to Barcelona unannounced, heart a storm, finding her in the studio knee-deep in clay, molding tiny hands from memory. You should have called, I said, voice raw as the Ramblas roar outside. She rose, clay-dusted and defiant. And risk you sketching escapes again? This isn't flight, Sam. It's foundation. Lucia's 5, orphaned by fever. Eyes like the Darrow, fierce and forgotten. I can't turn away. The alcove air thickened, our words weapons in the fray. And us? Do I fade into the American auntie, visiting holidays? Her laugh cracked, pained. You think I'd build without you? This is our bridge, wider, stronger. But it scares me too. What if I mother like my own? Bound by duty, blind to dreams. I crossed the space, clay be damned, pulling her close. Then we parent like lovers, seeing not saving. Together. The climax crested not in screams, but surrender. Tears mingling with clay on our cheeks, bodies collapsing onto the studio floor amid half-formed sculptures. We talked through the night, blueprints unfurling. Co-parenting across seas, summers in the Sierra with Lucia learning English over churros, winters in Seattle tracing Gaudi-esque snowflakes. No easy fixes but human ones, therapy sessions bridging time zones, wills rewritten to weave our trio tight. Lucia arrived in Barcelona that Christmas, a whirlwind of braids and questions, her laughter a balm to our battle scars. Maya bloomed maternal, braiding stories into her cousin's hair, teaching her to mix pigments from Granada earth shipped in jars. I, the awkward import, won her over with architecture kits, building forts from toothpicks, dreaming homes where rivers met rains. Conflicts lingered, of course, jet-lag tantrums, cultural clashes over too much affection and staid Spanish kin. Betrayals small. A forgotten school play for a deadline, Javier's awkward overtures at village fates stirring old jealousies. But each mended with ritual. Family pilgrimages to the Alhambra, where we traced the Moor's water channels, reminding ourselves flow required both pressure and release. The humanistic denouement unfolded quietly, as such truths do. Maya's mother passed in spring under olive blossoms, her final words a blessing. You've carried the sea home, Hija. We buried her in the village plot, Lucia scattering petals, the Sierra standing sentinel. In the Parador that night, full circle, we three stood on the balcony, Maya's arms around us both, the stars a vault of validation. You're my unexpected, she whispered to me later, Lucia asleep between us, breath synced in slumber. The door that opened to everything. And you're my echo, I replied, kissing her temple. Resonating forever. In this tapestry, dramatic in its depths, romantic in its reaches, laced with betrayal's lessons and emotion's expanse, we found not perfection but profundity. Love in its American audacity and Spanish soul isn't a straight line from hook to haven. It's the winding Albayazin full of turns, treasures, and the quiet miracle of hands held through the dark. We walked it unbroken into the light.